think we're good to go live. Testing. Yeah, I think the mic's working. And I think we're live on the stream. Do I have to click go live right here on the thing, or are we good?
Oh, wait a second. Go back to
Do I just click go live right here?
No, you're already live.
We're live?
Let me see that. Go to YouTube real quick. Yeah, you're live.
Cool. Cool. See if that music's a little bit too loud. Cool. Week three, we did it. Welcome back, guys. And welcome for the first time, you guys. Thank you for coming. So excited to see you guys. I'm stoked you came. If you guys haven't been here before, we're doing, it's a 1 hour week class for 4 weeks straight. It's on building a brand with meaning. And we are on week 3. It's called Carving Your Business Model. Let's do a little recap and talk about what we've done for the past 2 weeks, just to update, get everybody up to speed. Let's see if we're gonna get this to work. Yes, it works, dude. It works. Okay, so week here we are. Week 3. It's called beginning construction. We're going to be carving our business model. For the first week, we talked about the right foundation, the importance of having the right foundation to build your brand. We talked about the difference of being an amateur, professional, understanding your why, all the stuff that has to do with who you are as a person, the things you care about, what's going on in your mind, so then you can take all that stuff and then you can share it with the world to build a brand. This was all week 1. Week 2, we talked about elements of a brand, creating synergy. We talked about identifying what your edge is, what separates you from everybody else. What skill have you refined from your journey that you're able to offer to the world that's unique in comparison to all your competitors. And then we understood like all the different playing fields of a brand, the digital aspect of it, the physical aspect of it, and the social aspect of it. Show the slide for people online. So every week we start with the Calvin and Hobbes comic. This week Calvin walks up to his mom while she's working and he says, "Mom, can I have some money to buy a Satan worshiping, suicide advocating, heavy metal album?" I did that for you, dude. Calvin, and she responds back to him. She goes, "Calvin, the fact that these bands haven't killed themselves in ritual self-sacrifice shows that they're just in it for the money like everyone else. It's all for effect. If you want to shock and provoke, be sincere about it." And he goes, "Mainstream commercial nihilism can't be trusted." And she goes, "I'm afraid not, kiddo." So, this week, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about a plan that sustains. We got to sustain in business, and we got to sustain personally. Both of them need to have synergy. If we don't have a plan that sustains, it doesn't matter what our business model or our intention is. Then we're going to talk about carving out the right business model. I'm going to share with you guys what the Neo4k business model is. I'm a graphic designer, but I have a clothing brand. And I'm going to share with you why I made the business model the way I did and the technical parts of what makes up a business model. And then finally, I'm going to share with you the tools of the trade for a graphic designer. I'm sorry for this class. I don't know the tools for a music producer or other aspects of entrepreneurship. I know just specifically the tools I use for a designer. And then we'll do a little recap. I'll share with you a book I like. If you guys want to read the book, I think I've dropped like 6 books already. I'm only going to drop 1 book this week for you guys. So let's start off this class with a pro tip. I put a couple pro tips in this one. One of the most important pro tips I'll ever give you guys is this. And it's that people should be loved and money should be used. I'll say it again. People should be loved and money should be used. It's really easy for us to get that mixed up. Especially when doing business, we think about how can we make money? What can we do to get money? And we start to forget that the only reason why we have money is because we're serving people. It's really easy to forget that. And the next pro tip I'm going to give you guys is you can only derive as much value from society as you offer to society. I'll say it again. You can only derive as much value from society as you offer to them. We all have different jobs. on all different scales. We all commit different times and energy, and we all derive different values from our society. If you commit an average amount of energy to society, you're going to be able to derive an average amount of income back from it. We only can derive as much from society as we offer. So let's talk about a plan that sustains. To sustain means to maintain or continue something over time, often with the goal of ensuring its long-term viability or existence. In the context of business, sustainability refers to the ability of a company to operate in a way that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. I know we hear sustainability. It's a super crazy buzzword, but that's because it's really important. Everyone's worried about the state of the world, or are we even going to have a world in a few years? And so companies are saying, look, the things that we're doing, the products that we're making and selling to you, we're not destroying the world doing it. You're still going to have the same resources available to you when we're done. So you need to be sustainable in business. And then to test your plan of sustainability in business, one of the best ways to do this is by measuring it up against a sustainable plan that's working already. Or base it off of one that's already working. And also, your sustainable business plan should be built with the focus of a 4 to 6 year plan. Honestly, I was considering putting that in there, but it's hard to forecast where you're going to be in 4 to 6 years. Everything changes so fast when you start a new business or you start a new brand. I didn't even know what was going on 1 year from starting my brand. But if you at least if you do it as a thought exercise and write it down and say, hey, in the first 2 years, I want to make my first $100,000 with my business. Once I get that $100,000, I'm going to invest in this machinery. I'm going to invest in this location. I'm going to be able to do bigger deals or serve a wider audience at a more rapid rate. Just think outside of that 1 to 2 years. Start thinking of a plan that can sustain 4 to 6 years. You need a goal that you can accomplish that's outside of your immediate reachable goal. If you reach your goal, let's just say that I have a plan, I'm going to make X dollar amount, and I'm going to play this show, or I'm going to connect with these people, then you accomplish that goal, then what next? What am I going to do? I've accomplished my goals. Are you just going to stop? Or are you going to continue to do the same thing? It's really important that you have an unattainable goal to focus on so it keeps driving you. Okay, your plan must be clearly refined and strongly emphasize a value proposition. A value proposition is crucial for a sustainable plan. A value proposition is a statement that describes the unique benefit or advantage that a product, service, or company provides to its customers. It is a clear and concise statement that outlines the key value that a customer will receive from using or buying a particular product or service. We all need to have a value proposition. It doesn't matter what your business is. You have to have a refined, easy, concise value proposition. I'll share with you what Neo4x, my clothing brand, I'll share with you what that value proposition is. Simply put, we instill a sense of connection and confidence to futurism, gaming, alternative pop culture, and EDM culture enthusiasts. We do this by offering high-quality, bold, and eccentric graphic wear that accentuates who they are and the things that they care about. Our clothing is designed and produced in-house. Our customer service is made up of all real humans that can be immediately accessed. You can literally pick up the phone and call me directly for customer service. That's super rare in 2023. We take pride in that. And our price point to quality is below the competition when it's compared to everything else. This next section is probably one of the most important categories when it comes to having a model that sustains, and a lot of us forget this. To have a sustainable business, you have to sustain your health. Your health is extremely important. As an entrepreneur, you are likely to face a number of physical and mental demands that can be taxing on your health and well-being. Starting and growing a business can be stressful, time-consuming, and require long hours of work, often with limited resources and support. Neglecting your health in this context can have serious consequences, not only for your personal well-being, but also for the success of your business. Doesn't matter how hard you work, if you're sacrificing your health, nothing else matters. This was a super important one that I learned the hard way. It doesn't matter what your business model is, or your plan to sustain if you cannot sustain your relationships with people. When I first started Damascus in 2009, all I wanted to do was work. If you think, I was always looking at people like Michael Jordan, and he would say things, if you want to be the best, you got to sacrifice everything. This resonated with me at a young age, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to focus on my business and nothing else matters. And I did see the business grow, but it was at the expense of my relationships. In every aspect of your life and business, if your decisions in the short term benefit the business at the expense of your relationships in the long term, personal and professional, the brand will not sustain. Relationships includes your personal relationships with your friends and family, your customers, your collaborative relationships, your staff and your team, and then your vendors. Because what happens is you end up working so much you isolate yourself. And when you're isolated, you become bitter, you become agitated a lot easily, you don't have anybody to share your problems with, and so you start taking it out on aspects of your business that you shouldn't take it out on. You start becoming shorter with your customers, you start negotiating much more frugally with your vendors, and then your collaborations start to fade away. And this is all because you don't have a healthy relationship business balance in your life. So if you want to sustain the course, all the tribulations of your business, you need to make sure that you maintain the relationships in your life. These guys got a pretty cool relationship with 3 Sonic. Okay, so the last part for a sustainable business model is you got to make sure you sustain your resources. It doesn't matter how fast you're going if you cannot make it to the next checkpoint. I love this analogy. In almost all racing video games, you see you're always going around. If you're competing, if you're racing against others, you always have a clock that's counting down until you can make it to the next checkpoint. If you don't have enough resources to continue going, you don't make it to the next checkpoint, everything will continue going, but you'll stop. Everything will end. If your product offering is physical, it's imperative to secure a supplier or vendor that you can consistently rely on to grow your business with. It doesn't matter if you have a one-time opportunity to produce something. If you can't continue doing it over the long period of time, it's not useful to you. You did not find something that's beneficial to your brand or business. So also your customers or whoever you're servicing, they come to get used to your brand. And so it's required that you produce consistency to keep them satisfied. It's just something that they expect. As soon as you start changing that, you're going to lose customers. It's going to drop off. And then also you got to sustain your resources financially. If you can't sustain your overhead, it doesn't matter how good your product is. If you can't keep functioning and paying the people to produce your product, what difference does it make? You got to be able to sustain your resources. Which brings me to talk about the sunk cost fallacy. Do any of you guys know what the sunk cost fallacy is? Have you guys ever heard of it? Anybody? No, the sunk cost fallacy. You've heard of it?
Yeah, I went to school for like entrepreneurship and that, but
nice.
Go ahead. I'll when you're ready for like questions and things.
Yeah, we'll get down to some questions. Basically, the sunk cost fallacy is it's a cognitive bias in which individuals or organizations continue to invest in a decision or project based on the amount of resources they've already invested into it. So simply put, a lot of people, they'll continue going down the path of their business, or they'll continue investing in that stock or crypto. Even though they've lost a lot of money, they're saying, hey, we've already gone this far, we might as well just ride it out. And this is a attitude. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. You end up losing everything instead of just losing a little bit or just a general amount. You lose everything. The point of this is in business or in building a brand, you're always going to have to change your course. The sunken cost fallacy will help. If you understand that, it'll make it a lot easier to change course when the time comes. Sure, you might invest in a product that's not selling very well, or you might have committed to buying equipment that's not useful for your business anymore. Sell it and move on. Don't continue doing something if you know it's not working. It's just going to bring everything down. These are super easy to avoid pitfalls when it comes to carving your business model and building your business. I believe in my heart, and this is a very subjective opinion because of my experiences, is that you can do it yourself. You don't need a business partner. I think in 2023 that we're all very capable human beings. We have a lot of resources to us, and generally we can solve all of the problems in a business by reaching out for help, subcontracting it out, or paying someone just to get it done. It's not worth sacrificing the entire longevity of your business, giving away half of that to someone to solve simple tasks in the beginning of your business. A lot of us have friends and family where we're like, hey, they do all of our legal stuff, or they do all of our clerical work, or they do all of this thing that we can't do, but it's just one task. It's not worth trading half of your entire brand just to solve these very small tasks in the beginning. Figure out a way to get it done. If you can't do it, maybe you shouldn't be starting a brand. I think that you have friends and family you can ask for help. There's a lot of people that want to support your vision if you share with them the fundamentals that we talked about in the beginning. Who you are as a person, your why, your meaning, how you want to help people. You'll be surprised, dude, how much people want to jump on board and support that. You don't need to give away half of your business. This sounds simple, but this is important. Make sure your product is needed or desired. Don't just start a business because you think you should start a business. Usually all these problems get solved in the very beginning if you do the first steps of setting your foundation right and identifying your why and understanding how to express yourself and serve others. That problem's solved, but sometimes people get to all that and they're like, I want to sell a product that's already being sold. You're not innovating, you're not improving, and you're not helping. You just want to sell a product just to sell it. So that's an easy pitfall to avoid. And like we said in the last slide, always be willing to change course or be flexible if it's not working. Micro adjustments go a very long way. If you look at my original business model, the first business I ever started was a service-based business. I wanted to make t-shirts. I wanted to have a clothing brand, but we wanted to figure out how to make money, and so I just started off by making t-shirts for my friends and just pretend t-shirts for their surf companies. Everyone started liking the Damascus logo. So I was like, hey, why don't we start a business making clothing? I soon realized that once you get past your first layer of friends and family supporting your business, the real world doesn't care about your cool family friend logo or whatever your immature ideas. This hasn't been refined yet. What they want is they want to connect with an emotion. They want to be confident. They want to have problems solved, or they want things simplified for their lives. And so what I realized was that there was lots of student organizations on college campuses, like fraternities and sororities, because all my friends were in fraternities, sororities, and college clubs. They all make t-shirts. All of them make t-shirts to represent that they're in that club. When they walk around college campuses, they're very proud of wearing their t-shirts and showing that they're in the chess club or showing that they're in the medical research club. So what we did was we went and we got their email addresses from all of the university websites because they're publicly listed, and we sent them emails saying that we would design their t-shirts for free. No cost to them. I know graphic design is really hard for you guys. You guys are medical students. What I'll do is I'll design your t-shirts for free. You don't have to commit to anything. Just send me what you want. Send me the event that you got coming up, and I'll design it for free. What happened was we started getting hundreds and hundreds of requests for people to create their t-shirts for them. I had to hire a graphic designer. I had to hire an office manager. I was designing around the clock nonstop. And this simply was because we were offering a free graphic design service to people that the only problem, they didn't know how to make t-shirts, they didn't know how to make them look cool. We solved that problem for them. But we had to be flexible, so as that business model was working out, we wanted to do more. I was sick of relying on having to reach out every single week and find new sororities and new fraternities that wanted to make t-shirts. I wanted to have something that was more stable. So we're like, dude, our whole business is set up right now to make t-shirts for these two organizations. what can we do to have more stability in our business? So we started reaching out to gym franchises. We started reaching out to record labels. So cause we're like, dude, instead of us just making t-shirts for people, why don't we just create the whole line and category for these gym franchises or the head of the student organizations or record labels, and then we'll produce and design their clothing and fulfill it for them. So we pivoted our business model completely. 4 years went by of that, and then we were like, dude, this is fun, but I think we've reached a ceiling. What we're doing isn't fulfilling. There's nothing with meaning. All we're doing is creating graphic design and clothing for other people. What can we do? How can we spread our message with the world? So in 2015 is when we changed everything. We fired all of our service-based clients, and we decided to have Damascus Apparel as a brand. And this is when we stopped doing service-based clothing for clients, and we started selling specific Damascus Apparel. But what happened is all of the experience that we had built from servicing all of these people, we took that mentality into the fashion world. At this point in time, at least in the EDM industry, there was no clothing brand that had a service-based approach, but that also was a fashionable clothing brand. So what we did was we had no customers. No one was going to the Damascus website to buy our black street goth t-shirts. So we started reaching out to DJs, bass music DJs, and asking them, hey, dude, we'll design your shirts for free, but they're going to be Damascus Apparel shirts. We'll do it for free. So we took that exact same business model that we did in our service base, we took it to the EDM world. And at the time, nobody was doing that. Everybody was rejecting us. We probably got rejected by 100 artists and record labels, and then one finally said yes. It was Downlink. After Downlink said yes, other DJs other big artists saw what he did and how he had that shirt made, and they all started jumping on, and that's when Damascus started to catch traction, and that's when we started to spread rapidly in the bass music scene. So let's talk about carving a business model. I did this. This is one of my favorite analogies when people ask me about business and if it's difficult. Your brand, think about it like this. Your brand is a baby turtle freshly hatched on the beach. Your goal is to make it to the ocean if you want to make it to adulthood. Only 1 in 1,000 baby turtles ever make it to adulthood. There's tons of hazards. The poor baby turtles, as soon as they're born, there's tons of predators out to get them. They get lost. They never even make it to the ocean. This is you and your brand. There's a billion other people starting their brands. Nobody ever really makes it. 1 in 1,000 is actually an overestimate. It's a little neophoric turtle in the back right there. You guys can't see it. A little baby turtle. That's a mid-journey turtle. Next pro tip. Before we talk about building your business model, most important, pro tip number 3, ask for forgiveness, not permission. Why do I put this in here? So many people I talk to, they share with me how they've set up their copyright for their content or their trademark for their logo or their LLC for their business, but they've never sold one thing. They've never made one transaction on their business. But they got all this clerical or legal work set up, but they don't even have a functioning business. And I think it's really easy for people to get caught up in the things. It's really easy to do a list of legal stuff that you should do, but it's really hard to build your business and sell a product that's useful to people. So my advice would be just start doing that. Don't waste your time and energy and money on focusing on things that aren't important right now. That will come later. As we talked about in the first week, identifying what your one thing is, do that. Do your one thing, and then everything else will fall into play afterwards. If you don't do this one thing, none of this matters. It doesn't matter all your legal stuff and your website if you don't do your one thing. So just go for it. Ask for forgiveness later, not permission in the beginning. I'm not going to read all this data, but I put together all the aspects of a business model. I'll just go through the highlights of them. We already talked about your value proposition. It's really important that you understand who your customers are. Your selling channels. For me, our selling channel is Shopify, is direct to customer on our e-commerce platform. And we send people directly to our channel through social media. Super, super simple. Our customer relationships. How do you interact with your customers? We talked about this last week. The best way to access your customers is just through direct mailers. There's no other way to access your customers 100% except through a mailing list. Identify your revenue streams. How are you getting paid money? Where's the money coming from? For us, there's two mechanisms in which we make money, and that's through our collaborations and partnerships, and that's independently invoiced, and then through our Shopify store. There's only two revenue streams coming to the Neofork brand, and it's through only those two methods. What are our key resources? Our key resources basically are the assets required to operate your business effectively, such as human resources, physical assets, intellectual property, or financial resources. What are the key activities you're going to be doing? For us at Neofork, our key activities are graphic design, production, screen printing and fulfillment, photography. These are the top three core elements. And then customer service, shipping, fulfillment. And then we do events and social and stuff like that, and that falls last place to everything else. What are our key partnerships? Key partnerships can make or break your brand. Who you decide to partner with and who you decide to work with. For Neofork, we've partnered with lots of EDM events. We've partnered with lots of influencers online. We've partnered with record labels. We've partnered with ink companies for our ink. We've custom with manufacturers around the world. All of these are partnerships and relationships that we have to maintain. But if you're making your business model, try and think about them. Try and think about who your partnerships will be. Our cost structure. What's it going to cost to keep you floating month after month after month? Are you even going to need a team? If you're going to build a brand, everyone eventually gets to that point. Try and forecast what's it going to take when you get to that second level or that third level. What are the expenses going to be for people, for machinery, for travel, for accounting, whatever it may be. Just try and forecast that and put it into a business model. For the Neofork business model, here's our workflows. Very, very simple. As simple as you can keep your business model, the better it's going to be. Basically what we do is we do our one thing. Our one thing here at Neofork that we do is we do beautiful graphic design for clothing. Nothing else matters if we don't do that. I wouldn't be standing here. I wouldn't be able to have this place. None of the clothing matters if I don't do graphic design for clothing. Once we do that, we move from concepts to samples. Everything's digital. Then we make it physical with a sample. Then we do marketing. We market the samples that we've made. We don't produce everything. We market it so we can tell if people even care about it. Then once we tell, then we do a product launch. Then we do fulfillment, and we service the fulfillment, returns, exchanges. We make things better if we make mistakes. Expect 10% to 20% of everything that you produce is going to have errors with it. Just expect it and be ready to fix it fast. And then social media and experiences are the final step of that, because the social media and experiences can't come unless we produce all of these things to give for the social media experiences. A lot of people like to focus on social media first. This is last in our business model. And then we repeat that. Rinse, repeat. Time for tools of the trade. Software. Have you guys ever heard of Miro? Miro, really? Dude, Miro's super sick. So basically what Miro is it's an infinitely sized collaborative board that you can put, that our team at Neofork, we all use it. I use it for all of my collaborations. And basically what you do is you create a Miro board. Let's just say that we're doing a collaboration with a record label. What we're going to do is we're going to put all of the assets and resources for the thing that we're collaborating with. We're going to put all of our ideas. We're going to put all of the links to all the songs all in one place so then we can all reference it in one area. Miro is the beginning fundamental step that we use for everything that we create. Every collaboration we use, every product we sell has a connection back to a Miro board that we've made and shared with our team. And the reason why is because if you have a good planning process, it's going to exponentially increase the quality of your final product. If you don't have a planning process, basically the quality of your planning process has a direct correlation with the quality of your final product. So we use Miro for collaboration and for ideation here at Neofork. The other next tools, I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about these recently, for ideation and concept is Midjourney and ChatGPT. It makes it really easy for anybody, even if you're not a graphic designer, to create concepts, to create ideas, to see if things work, to share ideas with your partners, to create verbiage and filler content. I definitely don't recommend using AI for final quality products or final results. I recommend it specifically for idea generation and concept creation and sharing with your friends. Us as a clothing brand, and me as a graphic designer, I use a program called Marvelous Designer. What Marvelous Designer is it's a 3D modeling software specifically for simulating cloth. And so what Marvelous Designer allows us to do is we create a tech pack. A tech pack is a blueprint for a piece of clothing that you want to produce. It has every single aspect of the clothing in it. We create a tech pack, and then we create a cutting pattern. A cutting pattern is the flat shapes of the clothing for every single panel. We create it digitally, and then we bring it into Marvelous Designer, and we sew the clothing together. Once we sew the clothing together, it gives us an exact representation of how the clothing is going to fit and feel and how it's going to drape on a human being's body. Once the clothing is created in Marvelous Designer, we then send our 3D object that we've created into Cinema 4D, ZBrush, or KeyShot. Cinema 4D is specifically for creating models. ZBrush, you can actually do everything with Cinema 4D, but we use it for creating our models and modifying models. ZBrush also is a 3D model creation tool, but you can also use it to smooth, fix, and optimize your models. In 2023, the reason why the 3D software is a featured section in our tools for the trade, because in 2023, if you're a creative and you're not producing things for the digital world in 3D, you're going to get left behind. Everyone's viewing things in 3D. Virtual reality is starting to pick up. AR's next. All of the assets that we create for Neo4k are already created in 3D, so we're ready for that next step. People can go and wear our clothing now in VR chat. They're all ready. They're all created in OBJs. I think it's going to be the next step. So if you can, start learning these tools. The third one on here is KeyShot. KeyShot has saved me so much resources when starting my business. What I would do, it was just me when I started Neo4k, and so I would create the 3D models of the clothing. Then I would take it into KeyShot and I would put all the graphics on it, and I would try and create as close to as accurate representation of the product was as I could, and then I would pre-sell it on our website. So this way it saved me costs on production, taking the risk. I didn't have to produce the clothing. And then what it did is it saved me costs on having to work with other people and photographing, and that saved me a ton of time. I was able to just render all of my clothing, put it up for sale, we produced the product, and then we shipped it to our clients. The Adobe Creative Cloud Suite for any creative, I think, is a requirement. It's an easy $50 a month to pay. If you're a student, it's even cheaper. You can do anything, literally anything other than the 3D stuff with all of the Adobe Creative Cloud. My go-to programs right now are Illustrator, Photoshop, and Premiere. But you can do anything you want if you just subscribe to the Creative Suite. Highly suggest it. Everybody uses Google for everything. Us here at Neo4k, we use a whole Google Suite for everything. All of our Google Docs, all of our teams, everything is just done through Google Suite. All of our emails set up through Google. Our Google page is set up through Google. Google runs everything for the back-end office stuff of our business. And last but not least, I want to leave you guys with the book of the week. The quote I brought up originally was called, the sunk cost fallacy came from the art of thinking clearly. It's one of my favorite books, dude. The whole entire book basically revolves around on getting your mind set on not being too attached to things that will bring you down in your business. I'll leave you guys with this quote. Maybe we can go to questions afterwards. We must learn to close doors. A business strategy is primarily a statement on what not to engage in. Adopt a life strategy similar to a corporate strategy. Write down what not to pursue in your life. In other words, make calculated decisions to disregard certain possibilities, and when an option shows up, test it against your not to pursue list. It will not only keep you from trouble, but also save you lots of thinking time. Think hard once, and then just consult your list instead of having to make up your mind wherever a new door cracks open. Most doors are not worth entering, even when the handle seems to turn so effortlessly. Thanks, guys. Week 3. Cool. If you guys have any questions, I'm totally down to answer some questions.
Something about the pattern.
So
I'm sorry, what?
About making patterns.
Can
you do that in that software? Do you cut patterns, or do you have a person that does that?
So you can make patterns, but it's a lot easier to make patterns in Adobe Illustrator. Well, you make the tech pack in Adobe Illustrator, and then there's actually pattern making software specifically, and they're DXF files. You take that pattern, or if you wanted to do it simply, you can take whatever product you want to make. Let's say you want to make that jacket, and you can take all the measurements of every single panel, and you can make them in Adobe Illustrator. Then you can bring those shapes directly into Marvelous Designer. And that's how you would make the 3D thing. And then you physically sew it together just like you would sew in real life in the 3D software. Yeah.
High-tech shit.
Cool. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I found like a part of your story really impressive with how you like made a major pivot in your clothing, going from like college and that determination. And how do you sort of locate? I sort of see something with like a cognitive bias of like you might get really wrapped up in like I think this is great, and you're continuously like it's not being successful, but clearly you had a hurdle and that can happen. When do you know, like, am I being delusional, or do I keep pushing this because I know I have something? Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. If you're so focused on something, you're like, when are you when are you willing to realize it's not a good?
Is it just me that likes it, or is it like does it have a real value proposition? And like obviously yours works out, and you persevered through some of the failures. How do you know, like, sort of
When to pull the trigger, or when to pull the ripcord and like stop?
You persevered, and it wasn't, it worked. You found a way to make it.
But it didn't work a lot of times,
But my point is, so it did. So how do you know, like, to keep going and not be like, all right?
So
As somebody who was successful.
the question, I feel you on this one. That's a good question. So it's a combination of how sure are you that what you're doing is a real thing? And there's ways to measure that.
Right.
If you're inventing something new, or if you're like a new software, for example, where you're creating a new program and no one's taking notice to it, there's ways to measure if it's worth your time or not.
You go back to the value proposition, like you know that you have a niche, like something that's different.
Well, you don't know that. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's too different. And that's another thing in itself is sometimes there's even a problem with being too innovative or being too far ahead of time. You want to be ahead, but not too far ahead where people don't know what's going on. And it actually was really hard to tell when to give up or when not to give up. I think the best identifier is if you're losing a lot of money and you're doing the same thing and you're not getting any different results. Now, don't confuse obstacles with people not identifying with your product, because obstacles are actually a good thing.
And that's sort of my question, like when do you realize that somebody like you that was successful through that, like you persevered through it and you realized they were obstacles? Whereas I feel like with cognitive bias, you have to like come to an objective, like, is it just me, like, you know what I mean, insistent on making this work, whereas like the value proposition really isn't there? Or is it like, these are obstacles I can overcome, and how far do I push that as I'm like,
I think you should make a decision. If you're not making any money in 6 months, then you need to do something else. If there's ways to tell that you're just kind of beating a dead horse. And so if your goal is to offer value to human beings, you're going to be able to tell really fast if people are satisfied with what you're offering. If you're solving a problem, it's going to show. It's not going to, you know what I'm saying? And it does. If you have a cognitive bias of saying, hey, I know this is new and I know this is good for the world, and you know what I'm saying?
yeah, no, and I guess now I'm seeing, and you also use that like sort of, I don't want to say the freemium like value, but like you use a way to show it, like.
And test it.
Like here, like let me show you that it works at my cost.
Yeah, and speaking of the freemium, dude, like, I'm super passionate about freemium because, especially if you're starting off with something, because the best way to get more clients and to get people shouting your name on the rooftops is to do something for free for them. So like basically one of the biggest problems, and this is off topic, but one of the biggest problems that you see with like entry-level designers or people that are starting their career is they set these big price walls in front of their services. So if they want to do they want to take on more clients and charge more money, but they don't have any clients and they haven't done any work because their price wall's too high. So it's like a double-edged sword. They're not getting any experience, and then they're also not getting any clients. So the goal is you got to get one or the other, right? So I would prefer to get experience first. So let's take on some free clients, because what a beautiful thing is going to happen. You're going to take on a free client. They can't say anything to you. It's going to be a lot easier for you to get the product to across the finish line. And then they're 9 times out of 10, because it's free, they're going to be screaming your name to the rooftops. They're going to be sharing with their friends. Look what happened. Look what they did. This guy made my logo. Blah, blah, blah. It's free, free, for free. You don't have any accountability. And that's ultimately going to get you more clients in the long run. And then you can charge your price. And you got the experience. So that was off topic, but I love the freemium model, dude. You know, I think a lot of people should do that.
And then, like, I guess then I seem to pick up that it seems like you've narrowed in on your revenue streams, and kind of picked, is that sort of like an analytical thing? Like,
No.
It feels like counterintuitive to not just think how many revenue streams could I get?
So do you got to think 4 quarters, not 100 pennies, in
So
all
you
aspects
just
of your
focus
business.
on your analytics of like what's really working and that I should put my value in rather than.
Well, what
trying to
analytics do you
go
need for a revenue stream, dude? Because, you know, like, it's
see
not.
what's working, but like.
But I mean, what I'm saying is like, how many revenue streams can you open up? Because to me, it's very difficult to open up a revenue stream. That's not an easy thing to do, especially if it's a steady one. You know, I can check very quickly if this source of income is coming in as stronger than a lot of these other ones.
Right.
And also, dude, it's kind of hard in 2023 to just like have revenue streams coming in.
Yeah.
You know, like for me to set up an account with a bank account.
Probably taking away from the ones that could be doing better by you trying to work on this smaller one, like.
A bajillion percent. And so even having like 2 revenue streams, I don't have 2 full revenue streams. 98% of my revenue comes from our e-commerce platform. Only small things come from our other revenue stream. So I would say that one of our revenue streams, and I'm quadrupling, doubling down on the NeoFork website and creating the experience fully there. You know, but I mean, the option's there. It's like if we want to do a collaboration with Insomniac and we create all the merchandise for their new big music festival, we have to send an invoice through our other revenue stream.
Thank you. Those are the only questions I have.
Email blasts, how often? Like, you don't obviously want to send too many, so they're annoyed with it. Like,
Dude, email blasts that's super sensitive, you know, and it all comes down to your customers.
Right.
So me personally, I'm super, super picky. When I hate being bombarded with emails. Like I just went and bought a pillow online, and before I even got the pillow, I got hit with 12 emails.
Right.
You know, I can't stand that, dude. So I try my best to only send emails to my customers if there's something with substance in it.
Right.
A new product, a discount code, or sometimes I like to send sentimental messages to the customers. Those or updates like, hey, sorry we made a mistake. Here's how we're gonna fix it. These are the only emails I send. And so a strategy that I think works really well that's not gonna bombard your customers is this. You're gonna see that when you send an email to your mailing list, I don't know what your open rates are gonna be, but what I do that's non-intrusive to keep, like if I wanna keep following up, I'll send emails to our customers, and then the next day, I'll create a segment, and the segment is saying, hey, send an email to whoever didn't open the first email. If they didn't open it, then send just them the email. But I don't continue to bombard the customers that already did open or click on our email. So that way we're at least like, hey, we're bumping it, but you can tell they didn't even see the first one, so it's not like I'm harassing them.
Is there a system you have that like notices which ones weren't sent and then
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so- Yeah, I'll help you out with that. I'll help you with that. But every single software now, Mailchimp, Klaviyo, and all the bajillion other ones,
Okay, cool.
yeah, they got all really cool metrics. It's like one of those things where you're like, how do I create a group segment? And then, you know.
Well, I notice your Instagram all the time because there's always like an Instagram ad. So how does that work out for you?
Oh, we have an ad team. I pay ad team, and they're nonstop all the time creating new ads and
I
retargeting
like
and stuff.
doing the Instagram ads too. So
Huh?
I was thinking about doing the Instagram.
You
ads.
definitely should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were reaching out to, you said you reached out to like 100 people.
A lot more than that.
Sure.
Hmm.
And when you finally got that one big fish, did you go ahead and flaunt that big fish to the other people?
They flaunted it.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was something that was so new in the space and was kind of experimental. And they're like, "Yo, bro, where'd you get that shirt that looks different and weird like that?" There wasn't a lot of shirts that had graphics all over the shirt, big, bold, spirit, sciencey, kind of funky, weird graphics on them, all black, only black. And they were like, "Dude, what the heck?" And we did a photo campaign that just looked like just ridiculous, like ISIS, cyberpunk ISIS stuff. And at the time, it was kind of wild because like that was when ISIS was like a taboo topic at the time, and everyone was like, "Who are these guys?" And then Downlink was like, "This is my new shirt," and everyone was like, "I want to look like that," you know. And so all it took was one guy at the top, and then everything trickled down below it.
Did you market that at all?
No, dude. So like word of mouth marketing is like so insanely strong, dude. You know, like at the time, I didn't even know what marketing was, dude. You know, like all I knew is that like, hey, these guys want to have cool clothing, but they don't know how to make it. And so I was like, I know how to make clothing. And so I went to them. I'm like, hey, dude, I'll make your clothing. And all of them were like, dude, get out of here. You're a scammer. You know what I'm saying? All it took was one guy having faith. He talked to Diesel Boy and all these other guys, and they're like, oh, we saw our boy with clothing. We want to have clothing like that. And that's when everything just started to take off, and we adopted that service-based philosophy in a market that had never experienced that before. Yeah.
You have the right person behind your brand, that helps too.
The thing. Anything online, dude?
Yeah, we got a question from Enders. He said, he asked, any tips on how to apply any of this to music branding and marketing?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the tools that we use, no, but the philosophies, that works in any aspect of your business or line, dude. I think I did make public the first 2 weeks, and those PDFs alone, it's all about your mind and your philosophy and identifying who you are and asking the right questions before you even start your brand. I would highly suggest figuring those things out, and then it doesn't matter what tools you need to use to accomplish that. If you have these things figured out before you start, everything else will fall into place. Cool. Is there anything else on there?
Just everybody saying that they enjoy the class and they're stoked, and thank you very much.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.